So, welcome. Sorry that I appeared in the last minute, but I was stuck in traffic a bit. I want to talk a bit about AI and financial services, especially how it's evolving and kind of what's the impact on market data and what's next. So, who am I to talk about that? I'm Torsten. That's my LinkedIn profile if you want to have a look. I'm technology strategist at Microsoft, working in the financial services market. I talk to clients the whole day about what's the future of technology, how that's emerging, what's the impact on their business strategy, and what can we do together to shape that industry and use technology for good. I'm actually coming from a banking background, so I worked at Volkswagen Financial Services quite a long time. I worked there in digital transformation area, developed cloud platforms, established platform business models based on the platform technologies we provided. And I joined Microsoft like 2.5 years ago. And actually, the last 1.5 years, it's talking about AI day in, day out. And I like that. That's my profession, right? Talking about technology and the strategy and how it's evolving. I have a question. Who knows what dates are standing for June 2018? Somebody?
NVIDIA?
No, but good guess. That's when the first GPT paper was released in June 2018. It's not that far away, right? What happened in May 2020? When there was a paper about GPT 3.0 was released, kind of the inflection point of finding out that scaling, massive scaling, actually has a value to GPT models and has an impact into AI. And what happened in 2022 in November? Yeah, ChatGPT was released. That's not that long ago. But even in that time space from November 2022 to today, a lot of things changed. So we call that kind of an inflection point. It's a time where you can see that all the industries are changing, everyone is impacted, and norms are changed, technologies are drifting dramatically. And you could see that when you read through the research in 2018. So everything was laid down, but now it's the inflection point because we have that available. And we have that inflection points over time. So we had that in the past. So there was personal computing, and that brought along new productivity. It was not only mainframe anymore. We had the internet with new business models. We had mobile, and we had cloud with scaling, agility, and now it's artificial intelligence. Massive scaling artificial intelligence, general purpose artificial intelligence, not only prediction models we had in the past. You could also say that there's actually kind of a similarity to personal computing and artificial intelligence today. What happened with personal computing and personal productivity back in the days in the 80s and the early 90s at enterprise level? Because you had mainframes there, right? People took their computers from home to work because they want to be more productive. And that's happening today. So people are taking their AI models, taking their AI applications to work, to actually do something, to be more productive, and to enforce you as a company to actually provide that and make that happen. And you could say that's all technology, right? Why is it so important? Because technology is evolving all the time. But when you look at general purpose technology, like steam engines, electricity, there's one researcher from MIT, Andrew McAfee, who recently published a white paper saying that generative AI is kind of a general purpose technology, like steam engines, like electricity. And why is it so important? Because you see that this changed a lot of industry, that changed how business models work, that changed how revenues are produced. The only difference is electricity took some time till it was accessible to everyone, right? Generative AI is accessible to everyone right now, right from the start. Why is it different today? Because we see that AI today is capable of understanding natural language. It can reason complex backgrounds and sets of data, and it can learn from your input and actually improve over time. And when you look at those inflection points, what's normally happening in the market? You see that you generate business value out of new technology, and you have kind of an adoption curve, right? But technology is advancing way faster than you can actually adopt that. And you see that with generative AI, that this is like going off the chart, right? And the question is, are you able to adopt that value gap? And can you leverage that and make use of that for your customers, for yourself, as a customer, as an employee, as a business owner? And why is that innovation curve so high? Why is that value gap so high? Why is technology advancing in generative AI so fast? Why is it different to some other technologies? Because there's so many leap innovations in there, and you can break that down to three main pillars. The first pillar is hardware, and you are mostly familiar with that. Every bigger company is investing into hardware, producing new chips, producing new hardware to train models, and there's a lot of money into research and a lot of money into buying those and ramping up those, and you can call that leap innovations. But that's not the only leap innovation we have. We have leap innovation on the same time on the model side. Every week there's going to be released a new model which is more capable of the models beforehand, and the other week it's going again and again and again. And there's so much research and money into training new models on those hardware innovations and making use of those models, and this will go on and on and on. But what's mostly forgotten is like software. We see that when it comes to how could you integrate like hardware and those models into applications and make data insights, you need kind of frameworks, you need underlying technology and software providing those capabilities into something usable, right? If you have a model and you stick kind of to a chat interface like ChatGPT, how that gonna be solved like integration with data, right? Because it doesn't have access to data, how it's gonna present data, how it's gonna present, how it's came to its conclusions and so on. So we have a lot of software innovations into how to use AI and how that's going to be integrated into different software technologies. And you can actually see that when you think of Microsoft Copilot, which is kind of integrated in every Office product, how could that happen? Like, it was there, right? GPT models were available and Copilots were everywhere. Yeah, because the underlying technology is kind of a platform model where you just provide that once and every application on top of that can make use of that. And that's those kinds of innovation we need on the software side. So again, it's an inflection point, but it's actually not something new. So November 2022 sounds like really fresh technology, but a lot of companies actually adopted that. A lot of companies are already using that. They are scaling. And there was research published by IDC in November 2023 saying like every $1 a company invests in AI, there's probably an average return on $3.50. And it on average takes an organization to realize their return on invest in 14 months. So think again on November 2022, those first companies are already in returning their investments. So as I said, inflection point. It's like affecting everyone, every industry, every employee, every person, every business. But how it's actually shifting the financial service industry? What's the kind of the impact on different areas? And I want to summarize that a bit in different areas. So the first one is we obviously see new business models. We see that it's addressing different needs. We see that it can be used for intelligent pricing. You can make new business models out of your data because you can generate insights, which if you provide a software model and you see that kind of the first companies releasing that you not only come to a license model or a per user model, you can actually do a per use model combined with a licensing model. So that's new business models generating new revenue on those software models you provide. You can embed functionality in different banking and insurance applications and ecosystems. And you can actually produce more kind of niche products tailored to a certain user group to fulfill their needs, to fulfill their insight needs with data, and therefore can produce a variety of software solutions for clients and therefore monetize more because you don't have just one generalized application. But also with customer interaction, we see that you get into the direction of hyper-personalization. You see that, for example, I can get approached from a bank and it actually has all my context. It can formulate an email tailored to myself based on the data it has. It's not like filling some words in some placeholders, right? You can generate a message and an approach based on the information you actually have. But also when you engage, and I have a later example on that, when you engage with a customer, and maybe it's a corporate customer, that's more important than a private customer. You interact with a corporate customer and you want to have all data at hand. But what does it mean having all data at hand when you have a conversation, right? So imagine it's a corporate customer, you have a lot of data, and you're on a conversation, and that customer raises an issue. Raises an issue with some procurement, raises an issue with data you provide, and you want to actually dig into that. So in a normal conversation, you say like, oh yeah, let's take that with me, I have to look it up, right? But what if, like along the conversation, based on the context your customer is giving, you can already search in the background semantically to the right information, and it's like presented on your screen right away when you talk to the customer. So in-time data presentation and context presentation, and you can actually interact in a totally new way with customer and clients. But we also see, obviously, new operation models where, maybe also you produce products where you actually design for no product, for no operation, where you lower the effort because it goes more to usage of models, usage of AI, than really heavy lifting and heavy implementing that, and then make use of the whole value chain and generating an ecosystem around that when it comes to getting those into the market. And obviously, and that's for sure the most important part. We talked about new business models, but what you can actually do today is like looking at your current business models, looking at your current things you provide, and ask yourself, how can I make that more intelligent? What can I integrate in those applications? What can I integrate in those services? What's kind of the upsell opportunity I can have, and what's the more insight I can gain? Either you are on the provider side, providing things, or even if you're on a consumer side and saying like, oh, I'm receiving stuff from a provider, and I want to gain more insight. What's making data points intelligent? What do I get out of that? And that's the that's a really important part. And I have an example of what an intelligent product means. And obviously, don't forget about your employees, because employees, we know all, we have a shortage of employees and a shortage of people who can interact and actually produce value. So AI will help to do that dramatically. And I see that with my customer interactions day to day. This is one of the major short-term leverages. How can AI help my employees be more productive, gaining like attraction? Because we also heard from customers that if you want to hire a developer, he might ask you kind of what code completion, what kind of AI co-pilots you have in place to attract him, because he will decide if he goes for that company providing those options or not, because that makes his life easier. That takes away like the hard lifting, the topics they don't want to take care about, and yeah, that's going to change how employees will interact. To sum that up, all those things actually are driving revenue and therefore driving book value. So every company, and we will see that in the future, that when it comes to like, what's your business strategy? What are you doing with AI to actually say like, oh, that's where I'm invested. That's what I do. That's where I'm using that, and that's the value I gain out of that. And that's fundamentally then driving business value and book value of your company. But the question is like, okay, I talked about all the impact and the inflection points. What's kind of the start? What's the how could you deal with that? And I see three main pillars. So the first one is, and actually I rarely see that, to be honest. So when I talk to people, most of the time, when I say like, oh yeah, let's go for AI, let's do something, let's try something out, let's set up some workshops, dive into that, and they say like, yeah, but like I have to do strategy first, right? I have that consultancy firm I hired, and I'm doing like for 6 months, I'm doing strategy and AI strategy because I have to report to the board what's my AI strategy and what I'm going to do. How could you define an AI strategy when you never played around with that? Because you don't have like a feeling on, is that something your customer really attracts? Is that something you tried out? Did you talk to your customer? Did you show that where you want to go with that? And I see that most of the people are like just not starting with that. They start with AI strategy, but not with playing around and getting a feeling and a sense of limitations as well as opportunities. And what we see that is a winning strategy is start with playing, then grow, because you saw that value gap, right? You can also see that as an innovation gap. And there is no shortcut. If you have that innovation gap and you say like, oh, I'm playing around with AI strategy and see where I'm going, technology is advancing and you need to keep up the race, right? If you didn't play around with that in the meantime, just taking care about strategy, you don't know how to grow because you never started. You have maybe an idea, you have some nice slides, but you never started and you can't grow. And in the end, you want to win with AI. You want to really deliver products. You really want to have customers who like those products, who interact with them and gaining insight of that. But yeah, business strategy is important along the way. I don't want to underestimate that. But technology and data and playing around with that is important as well. But don't forget about organization and culture. I talk to customers who started playing around with AI and not really having kind of something implemented or really having a huge impact, but already anticipating what's the impact of my organizational structure if I'm going to implement all the things I'm starting today. And they restructured part of their company anticipating the impact of AI, because they saw like we need to work differently because that's the impact. So you need to take care about organization and culture, and obviously also about AI governance. And we have that in the white paper summarized, how to start and what to do. But what are kind of real use cases you can really leverage? And I don't want to talk about products today, because that's not the intention here. But what I see when it comes to market data, where AI can really have an impact, is like first data extraction, then data distribution, and getting data insights. And depending on which side of the market you are standing, you're affected on all of three or just partially. What do I mean with data extraction? When you think of like sentiment analysis, document extractions, whoever tried out to extract data out of a PowerPoint, like when a company shows some shiny charts and some data in there, it's really hard. If you don't have that as a data point or something like that, and probably if you have data extractions, you probably have multimodal documents where you have a chart, you have a table, you have written text, you have annotations, and that's really hard to do in an automatic way. I know most of the companies and some of the companies are doing that offshore by hand, extracting all those data, getting insights from different companies, and therefore doing market analysis and research. That's not necessary anymore. You can actually use an AI, identifying different parts in a document, extracting those data points, extracting that as data. So if there's a table, you don't do OCR and then you have a line over the first row, which doesn't make sense because it's like a row of text. It doesn't have context, right? It doesn't have columns. But you can actually do that today. You can identify those parts, extract those parts, put them into some data source, and do whatever you want afterwards. And to give an insight what that means for data insight. So imagine I take kind of a company yearly reporting, nice slide decks, nice presentation, and I want to do a comparison between two companies. So to do it today, I can do that on text, I can do that on the information I get, maybe via a CSV file, but I can actually do that with AI just based on the PowerPoints, because it's extracting all this data. It can actually calculate afterwards, so it can use a calculator, it can do comparisons, and it can actually produces new charts based off that, right? So you have two different data sets, which you never touched. You just take that, wait for a moment, it's all extracted, it's putting into context, and it's represented in a totally different way. And now imagine you do that with a bunch of more data. You do that with sentiment analysis based on social media and so on. So you get way more data insights and way better structured data, because you can get a sense of the data and the meaning of charts. And that also might change like data distribution, because you, as I said, like new business models, you might want to skip the data distribution part at all. You might just want to do data extractions and do data insights to your customer, because you actually want to have kind of a platform. You want to produce business value based on a platform. You want to produce directly insight. You want your customer bringing data into those models, because you want to have the user experience. You just don't want to have giving away the data. And we see that there are starting points where you actually see those business models arising on different companies. And you also saw that probably today in the opening keynote from LSEG, where they kind of showed how insights are integrated in a daily work. And you don't really think about the data distribution, you just think about data usage and insights. And that all obviously comes with you need kind of a data supply chain and AI supply chain. You need to have different data sets aggregated, integrated, and put into something useful where you can actually generate insights out of that. And that fundamentally data is few. You can't use AI and you can't produce insights if you don't know kind of which data, which pipelines, way you integrate those data, what's the meaning behind that, and what can you drive out of that. And I have one example to actually show you that a bit more concrete when you actually interact with data. So, because I talked a lot about what's possible. Just giving you an example, and it doesn't matter what application, it's a Microsoft application. And the customer here wants to produce a report on the last 12 months natural language. So nothing coding, no SQL statements, no data analyst, just saying what's the purpose of the analytics you have. And you can make the projection on different data sets. So imagine you do that, and the output looks like this. So it produces all the charts. Those charts are interactive. We can click through them. We can select things. And it was just a natural language input, right? And that's not something which is future. That's actually something you can use today. And now you change your mind. You want to have kind of additional information. So because a lot of information are represented here, and you don't have a clue what's the meaning behind that, and you want to ask it. And you say, yeah, okay. So getting some insights. What are the main drivers for repeating customer visits? And what it can do, is analyzing the represented data, getting a new chart, and actually showing what's the insight. And now think of, like, you take any data source you have with the capabilities of better data extraction, more data, more insights you can put into that, and now producing context based on the insight. And what I refer to that as kind of, that's the ultimate goal of data democratization, right? We talk about that for years, but actually natural language is the pure democratization of data, because you can speak to data, you can ask data, and you can generate insight without ever learning to code or to do data analytics. And yeah, so what that means, what you need to do in the future, if you produce data sets, generate applications, provide it to customers, it shifts to, like, different ways of interacting. You need to have language interacting, you need to have data-driven, personalized insights. So that's also going to change how applications are developed in the future. Time is intelligent, and that's going to stay for a while. So the opportunity is yours. The capabilities are there, the models are there, proof of success is there, other customers are using that. There are a bunch of examples out in the market. It's the question of, did you already start, did you played around with that, or are you still on the strategy side? Thank you.
Thank you, Torsten, for this interesting presentation. I guess we have time for some questions.
Absolutely.
I would have one question, because I mean, in the example you were just showing with the Power BI report that creates itself, I found in the past that obviously things like this are working very well if you have very good structured data in the background. But in my real life, I have a huge lack of high quality data. So for me, the question is, what kind of frameworks are there to, let's say, reshape data before adapting some kind of AI workflows whatsoever? Because, I mean, I have the feeling that data in my daily use are not that good, that they would produce themselves reports like that.
So that's a good question. So what we see, because you can get semantic insights, and when I talk like charts and so on, that's fundamentally unstructured because it's not a CSV file, right? It's a PowerPoint. So imagine that's unstructured data. It's the question if you're capable of extracting the meaning behind those unstructured data and put that into some way of structured data. And that's very important because you need to have kind of a an understanding of the meaning, you can't do that in real time if you ask that. You need to do that in advance. So getting an understanding of unstructured data in advance, putting that into some index where you can actually interact with that data. But you need to extract the meaning behind unstructured data in the beginning. Otherwise, you're more into the data analytics part where you go into unstructured data. But when it comes to customer interactions, probably that's a hard lifting. Yeah.
No more questions?
So maybe a quick question to the search part. So you mentioned that it is now quite easy to extract data, and I was wondering how in this model data security is handled, because there might be some information inside a company that are not supposed to be disclosed, but the AI will find it.
That's a good question. So the first thing is you want to actually have, so the model normally has access to the data. So the model is not trained on the data you give to the model. That's very important. So that's the first part of security in AI. And the other part is that you want to have the user context passed through the search index and the access on the data. So if you don't have a data access model, so if you kind of had a data strategy in the past and had set up data governance, you're good to go. If you don't, you better start now. Because that's the fun. You need to have data lineage, you need to have data access rights, because you want to pass that through, right? The index needs to know the user asking, does that user have access to those data, and do I use that in the answer to the actually user in the context you are using? If you don't have that, that's going to be difficult, because AI will find every single piece and bit of your data if you don't have a rights model on top of that.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And enjoy your day.